Come on, Chloe. We got a little bit more work to do here. It's looking good though, but you're supposed to remind me to bring a broom along. What happened, huh? What happened? Why didn't you remind me to bring the broom? Let's get this cleaned out. All right, watch out, watch out. Get this cleaned out and ready for the next load, I guess. Watch out, back up. I gotta lift the gate. I can't lift you and the gate. All right. Yeah, I wonder what the guys are up to today. Wonder what people are doing on their homesteads. Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. Today I wanted to bring you in, just give you an update on the homestead, what's going on. We're still working on it all the time, but a lot of the work that we're doing, it's not really conducive to making videos. You know, it's boring stuff like moving pine needles around. I brought a bunch of pine needles over from my suburb house because we've always got an abundance of them this time of the year. And I bring them along and I put them down basically as mulch. It's great for that. In fact, let me pull you in here and I'll show you around at kind of what we've been working on. But I know a lot of people are interested in the Homestead series, and I haven't really talked much about it because frankly it was winter time and I couldn't get a whole lot done. Excuse me. And my camera doesn't really like winter cold too much, so let me get it lowered down, get us into position. As you can see there, I've got my little 10-foot trailer, little utility trailer, and I rigged up some sides just out of some chipboard. But they made it through the winter, and I've got a couple more loads of junk to get rid of. But that's mainly what I've been doing with it. Here are my shipping containers, obviously. If you've been following for a while, you know that was one of the first things we brought in, was we needed a place to be able to store things dry. Now, again, for the people that aren't followers of the channel, maybe this is the first time you've ever come over here and check the videos out. This container right here in front of us, actually on the top, we assume some kids got in there. Basically what they did was they took a double bit axe that was left over here because there was a whole bunch of tools left behind when we bought this place. We've got a pile of boards with nails in it right there that we're going to have to deal with. And while we're up here in the front, I'll show you one of the things that we've been working on steadily. Oh God, it's horrible. It's a scar on our land. We hate it. And what we're planning on doing, if everything works out right, we're going to try to get one of these roll-off dumpsters, or maybe two of them, dropped off over here. Several people have told me just to dig a big pit, bury it, and burn it in the pit. And that is a good idea, but I can't really dig it. I don't really have implements to dig a big pit. I would need like a backhoe or a, you know, an excavator of some kind. Up here in the front, past that pole right here, maybe you can see it. I can't tell on the camera. Yeah, I think you can see it there. That's basically, at least at this point, that's our front entrance, our front gate. And it's okay. I want to move it back farther off the road so that you could pull all the way in there, ideally with a trailer, and then get out and unlock it because we plan on keeping it locked. That's a good looking little oak tree right there. But you know, look, I just wanted to show you guys around how green everything is. I brush hogged it one last time right at the end of the year last year, and I'm so glad I did that because it made it to where it was easy for us to move around over here. Right now we've got, let's see if I can get it down here low enough. I don't know what the proper name of these are, but we call them Indian paint brushes. And yeah, there's my pup Chloe. Hey, get out of the camera there. I don't need a Scooby-Doo tongue on the lens, but these are looking really, really nice right now. Hopefully the camera is picking up that color. Just incredible. It's one of the things I enjoy about this place. There's not so many of them around here. They're kind of sporadic, but when we go over toward the field, you'll see quite a few of them. I want to take you over here. Me and a buddy of mine moved this little shed over to the right. We moved that last year. And again, if you've been following the channel long enough, the majority of that building right there, I built. I tore it down. It's a well house, but I tore it down and I rebuilt it. I did a single slope roof instead of a traditional, whatever you'd say, gable type roof. We added a little extension on the back so that we could you know, store firewood. Originally our plan was we were going to make an outdoor bathroom there, like a place where there's a tub, and we may still do that. I don't know. But that was the reason for the extension, is we were going to put a bathtub back there and, you know, be able to do some stuff like that. But yeah, this shed right here was sitting right here, and it was horrible because it was right in front of my nice shed that we made. And I don't know what Chloe saw, but she took off after something. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on her. She may be after a rabbit or a squirrel. But yeah, I didn't want to. It's not the greatest shed, but I didn't want to lose the storage capacity that it has and maintains right now. So I was able to take that Mahindra, and with some, you know, redneck engineering, we used those pallets over there on the ground to slide it basically back into position without tearing anything up. Hey, Chloe, come on. Chloe girl. I'm going to have to get out my jug bow dog tool here. I'm not going to shock her. I'm just going to beep it. Let's see what she does. Chloe, come here. Come here. Good girl. Come on now. Let's get back over here. This dog loves to play, loves to chase, loves being out in the woods. She can hardly stand it. When we're on our way over here, she's whining and crying. But yeah, I've been waiting for the right time, and we need to get some water on hand before we burn anything like this. Like, actually today would be a great day. It's barely windy, but I don't have the water storage right now. I need to get, basically what my plan is either to turn the power on to this well house, just turn the power on to the property and power just the well house, or I'm going to rig it up where I can run it off a generator and then fill up a 275 gallon tote, IBC tote, with water. And then, you know, we'll feel like we're safe to burn there. That white trailer back there, unfortunately, it's pretty much unlivable. I mean, it's pretty bad. When we first came in here, it was flea infested to the point where you couldn't walk in through the house or anywhere near the trailer house without getting covered in fleas, and just gross. So we had to flea bomb it. We had to put all kinds of chemicals down on the floor just to be able to reclaim it to use it for storage. Of course, there were roaches, and there were also mice in there. So yeah, not great. It's a fairly porous structure, and you know, it was probably not very good when they moved it in there, and it just continued to get worse and worse over the time, you know, that they had it, I think, because, you know, there's like obvious things like big pieces of metal on the floor instead of patching up the floor, you know. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you got to get by, but anyway, it's dilapidated. It needs to either be hauled off and, you know, disposed of, or knocked down and dig a hole and burn it. You know, I don't know. That's a fight for another day, because right now, in a way, it's sort of in our way for our future plans, because what we want to do is put a house almost in that same area. Although it won't come out this far, it'll be more turned and oriented this way, this direction, because the road is out there behind that storage container, and it runs all the way along this part of the property out here. And it's a gravel road. That's one thing I don't dig about it, is that there are times in the year when the wind's blowing just right that it blows dust all over here. And we like to use a really sophisticated clothes drying system that relies on solar and wind for its power, you know, and basically it's a clothesline. That's what we like to use, you know, especially in this time of the year. And it's going to be hard to do that on certain days. You're going to have to really watch it. Or if you want to open the windows or something and you don't want to run air conditioning, you're going to have a really dusty house. So we haven't quite figured that out yet. If I had my druthers, if the land was shaped in a better way, I would go, you know, another 200 yards back or something, because approximately, I know that's hard to tell on camera, but I would say that door right there where the trailer is, in the, you know, not in the middle, but where that green door is, I'd say that's about 150 to 175 yards from the gate. So it's a good ways, but again, it has to do with which way the wind's blowing. And so if the wind's blowing just right, it'll blow dust right on you, and your car is going to always be covered with dust unless you keep it in a shop. But yeah, my grand vision, my wife and I have been really trying to figure this out, because We have another nice area back there we call Red Field. We got another area called L Field, but they're way at the back of the property, and we'd have to develop a really expensive road to get back there. I mean, we would be spending probably 20, 30 grand on just the road to even get back there, because the kinds of structures we want to build all rely on concrete and stuff like that. I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's yucca over there sticking up, that darker green stuff there. And then of course we still have lots of cedars, but we have been taking some of them out, and we've been cleaning this back and opening this up more and more up here in the front. Of course, we don't want to open it up too much because we have other neighbors over here on this side. We value our privacy among other things, you know, but privacy is like top of the heap, man. That's where we really want to, you know, strategically remove some of these trees over here, but definitely not wipe them out, because then we'll be looking at the broadside of our neighbors, and we don't want that, and I don't think they would want that either. But yeah, pretty good looking building, really durable the way we built it. Really the corners are the most susceptible things, the exposed wood, and as long as you keep paint on it, it should be good. This little trailer here has been kind of kicking my butt. It's a little Toyota trailer. It's perfect for my Bombardier four-wheeler, my little utility four-wheeler. It's the perfect height, everything. The problem is I can't find used 14-inch tires. I could probably order some new ones, and I may have to do that, but I've been looking for a decent set of used 14-inch tires on like Marketplace, because I don't know about where you are, but where I am, Craigslist is like a shadow of its former self. It used to be one of the greatest things, kind of like Auto Trader for a while. Auto Trader was the big thing, and then they faded out. Craigslist came in, and then they faded out. And the reason they faded out is because they started charging people to run ads where it was free before. So let's finish the vision here so you guys can get on with whatever you're doing on your homestead today. Eventually this trailer will be gone. I don't know, again, if we're going to tear it down in place or, you know, move it, whatever. I'd like to keep the frames from underneath them for other future farm projects like boat docks and other things like that, little bridges that, you know, foot bridges for crossing ravines and different things. And we'll go ahead and walk on back here, and I can show you how this drops off. It's not insurmountable by any means to go ahead and build back here. And in fact, one of our plans was to use the hill and build on the side of the hill so that the foundation underneath the house would be kind of a raised foundation, and it would be more raised on one side than the other, right? So on the back side, let's say, away from it, it would be much taller, and then you could use that for like storage of like, you know, rakes, lawnmowers, different things like that. Put a little small garage door in there. It'd be a nice little storage area underneath the house, and I bet it would stay fairly cool. You could probably use it sort of like a root cellar. So that's one of the plans. But yeah, it starts with getting rid of this trailer, and we're gonna have to do some dirt work back here, obviously. We'll probably, it drops off pretty hard right there. You can see that tire. It's, you know, I don't know, at least, it's at least 6 or 8 foot lower down there. And what I don't know is how much water flow I'm dealing with in that spot down there. I need to be over here when a real torrential downpour is coming down so I can watch and mark everywhere the water is really flowing. Usually we come along after the fact, and I don't see any major evidence of flow up here. So I'm thinking I can build this up right over here with concrete and whatever. You know, we have a lot of red clay around here. The pond's all muddy down there because we have been getting some rain here lately. Need a lot more. It got really low last year. I think mostly because we have a drought, but we also still have a leak. And just to update you guys, you know, I did a video like, I don't know, 2 years ago, I think, about putting this, what's it called? Bentonite clay in the pond. And it's supposed to help, you know, stop little fissures and leaks and things like that. And it did help. It did slow it down, but it did not stop it. So between my leak and last year being mega drought all year and not really getting the big rains we normally get, it was bad. So I'm hoping that this year will straighten things out. But yeah, we've been, this little drop off right here, I've just been putting, you know, debris cedar debris, other stuff like that down in there. And eventually we're either going to start laying concrete, or we may burn that first, then lay some concrete, broken bits of concrete and stuff to build this up and to hold this ground. And then we'll either taper it off nice and smooth, or we'll do like I was saying and build out off the side of it if we can stabilize it enough and stabilize the ground enough. And then I would have a raised foundation house or a raised floor house in that instance. I'm used to a concrete floor right now, a concrete house, concrete floor. If money was no object, I would probably want to build ICF. I think it's the best thing there is. I've got experience with ICF. It's not the easiest thing to work with as far as when you're doing finishing stuff, like hanging sheetrock and other things like that. Is a little different. Although it's not that, it's not insurmountable. It's just you have to learn a lot of stuff. But you can see right here how this drops off. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. It significantly drops towards the pond. And as it goes towards the pond, it gets lower and lower and lower. One of the things I'd like to do, if we do end up making this our final building site, and you know, this is all subject to change. We may find out that the soil's not stable enough here or something like that. We're gonna have to do a lot of research and do some probing and digging and figure out what, I'm pretty sure it's all red clay like this. And if that's the case, that's good stuff. I can go in there and I can work with that. If it's really sandy, I'm going to be more worried about it, you know, having deeper foundations and stuff like that before it'll be solid. So anyway, one of the things I want to do in the future is terrace this off. Once I build a house here, terrace this down towards the pond, because that direction right there is pretty much the south. So I'd be able to, if I did it right, I could zigzag terrace it where, you know, hopefully that makes sense, where I could water at the top and it would run all the way down, and I could garden all of that stuff all the way down, you know, maybe 4 or 5 different blocks there, let's say, slope just perfectly, each different way, to where you could set a sprinkler at the top, or when it rains, it would catch it at the top and it would work its way down, serpentine style. I think that would be awesome, and it would be super functional. And it'd be nice to be able to look out your window right there, or maybe I'll have a porch right there. I'll be able to look out the porch and see my garden. So if deer or whatever, any other pests are out there messing around with it, I'll hopefully be able to catch them before they just devastate my garden. But yeah, we would come through, obviously, if we build here, and we would open this up a lot. There's a whole bunch of these cedars right here, and while they're pretty and sometimes they're aromatic, they also set my wife's allergies off. Sometimes mine, but the worst thing about them is they're super flammable. I mean, they're like, and you can see every one of these have the ability to have like a story fire or whatever they call it, where it climbs up, the ladder fire, where it climbs up the tree. So hopefully this one's picking up. One right back there, you can barely see. We've been going through and trimming these up off the ground, the ones we want to keep, and the rest of them are going to have to go. Now, one thing I have been looking about and learning about are these state and government grants that they have, because the states and the government don't like these cedars either. They're invasive. And sometimes you can actually get, you know, some sort of either help, or you can get paid to remove cedars and do things like that. And I've also been looking into grants for different fencing options and things, because I'm going to have to buy miles and miles of fencing for my vision to work out. Basically, this whole front section up here, I want it to be about 6 different paddocks where I can rotate, you know, rotationally graze over here. And I want to be able to keep everything pretty much within my vision of my house here, at least to start with. So let's imagine the house is here where the trailer house is. And over there's the well house, which works out, because, you know, if I put the house way back in the back of the land, I'm not going to be able to pump water to it from that well house. That means I'll have to dig a new well, and man, that's like $10,000 to $20,000 now, even in my state where the ground is not that rocky or anything. It's weird. Everything has gone so freaking crazy. So we want to use as much as we can. And yeah, it's a little junky when you look around right now, but obviously once we're living here, it won't be like that. One of my plans is to move those containers. I just had the guy drop them off the most level place that we already had, because at that time I don't remember if I had the tractor or not at that time, but certainly I wasn't prepared to do dirt work before the guy got here. And I kind of had to go on those. I bought those from somebody that I work with, and they had a business, and they were sitting outside the business, and they needed to get rid of them right then, basically. And I was like, okay, I gotta move on this. And so I dropped them there, set them on some concrete blocks, and pretty much have been living with it like that since. I don't want them there in the long run. I'd kind of like to have them back here on the other side of the well house. There's some hard packed ground up there from where people used to use it as a driveway. I'd like to block that off. And there's also where it's real green and bushy right back there, right behind the well house, there's an area where there's a really low depression. I can possibly make that into a small livestock pond. That's one of the plans. But I need to make it drain. Instead of draining out this way like it does now, I need to make it drain out that other way, out the back, where it'll go back here and water the forest instead of washing across the top of the ground. And hopefully the camera's picking that up. It's pretty uneven up here, so I'm going to have, probably a dozer come in. I could do it all with my tractor, but it would take me probably all summer to do it. So most likely I'll have to pay a guy with a big dozer to come in here and start moving some dirt around, leveling things off for me, and then getting grass set up, grass seed, because one of the things I want to do is over there, roughly where that brush pile is, behind this tree right here in the center of the frame almost. There's a brush pile back there that I'm going to be burning. Right in that area, I'd like to build it up with some either rock, red clay, whatever, and put a big shop right there. So I don't want, that's awfully close to where that little livestock pond would be. And ideally, I'd be able to have the shop, have the doors open. My wife could see me from the house right here in case a car fell on me or something or whatever. She just likes to look out there once in a while, make sure I'm still alive. When I get really deep in my projects, I can be out there for quite a while. But yeah, just so many possibilities. I don't know. I don't have all the answers yet, but that's the plan. That's the loose plan that we're going with. You can see we already have power poles everywhere up here. So that would save us a whole bunch of money. It would be fairly easy to develop about 2 to 5 acres right up here around the house into nothing but yard and garden and stuff like that, And right now, the way it works, I have my chickens inside my, backyard fence. And I don't really think I'm going to keep that up because, the chicken poo and all that. I think I'd rather have a nice little smaller area, like maybe a ½ acre to an acre of just grass. Yeah, it's just a beautiful place. And I tell you, it restores my soul every time I'm over here. I just love looking out and seeing the fresh growth, that bright green growth on top of those trees. Unfortunately, we just missed it not long ago. All the red buds were in bloom. It was beautiful. So guys, even if you don't have some land, it's really valuable, at least to me, to get out there and just, get in some nature, restore your soul. If you have some land, what are your dreams? What are you planning to do? Do you see any problems with anything that I've said here? Yeah, it's, I wish it was 500 yards off the street or the gravel road rather than, 150 to 175. But I do have trees growing all down along the road, and I could easily go in there. My wife and I were talking about hedgerows like they do over in England and stuff, or they used to do. I don't know if that still goes on or not, but back in the day they did hedgerows instead of fencing. And there are some certain plants, like one of them is the Bodark tree, they call it, also called Osage orange. It has these big thorns on it, and you can shape them and intertwine them and interweave them and stuff as they're growing, to where eventually it'll be supposedly a cow-proof fence. And nobody's going to want to come through that because it's got thorns all over it. So that could be a way to do it, and save some money on fencing and block off the traffic and maybe block off some of the dust. I don't know what else you can do other than going out there. And I heard stories years ago about people they would go over to like the local soda pop bottling factory, and they'd get all the old syrup and soda that they were throwing out, and they would go out there and pour that on the gravel road because apparently the syrup inside of there probably works better than the soda. But anyway, it would keep the dust down. And I don't know if that's a good idea or not, or environmentally sound. I've also heard way back in the day they used to use used motor oil. I definitely know that that's a major no-no now. You can't do that. But yeah, a lot of stuff to pick up, a lot of stuff to clean up still. And when I'm editing this video later, it'll help me just spinning around here. I can see I've got some air conditioners and refrigerators and compressors there that I'm going to have to deal with. These people didn't throw anything away, so I'm doing it for them because we want to, you know, be good stewards of the land and make the place nicer. I really love it. So yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully you can visualize it. Great big shop. That tree will probably be gone, even though we kind of like it. I don't remember what kind of tree it is. My wife was saying it wasn't a real desirable tree. They're kind of weak and probably don't want that one there, but we'll put some more trees in around. And we'll have a driveway that goes down, maybe down through here, and you know, can stop at the house or you can go over to the shop. And I'll also have a little driveway extension over there at the top of the hill where you can't really see behind the containers. There's an existing gravel driveway that used to connect this property, and the people that we bought it from, they kept 16 acres over there. It used to go all the way through. Now there's a barbed wire fence over there, and that driveway, all it does is act as a gutter and pulls all their water from the front of their property down here. And I'm gonna be blocking that off and let them deal with that on their side. I'm gonna be putting some dirt over there and blocking that off and building it up so that I can put my storage container. And that will probably end up being like a barn. I'll put 2 storage containers roughly sitting about the same spacing they are right now apart. And then I'll put some sort of trusses over the top of them and make a roof. So basically turning them into a shop. You know, nothing revolutionary. You guys have seen that a million times here on YouTube. Maybe I'll make a video series about it when we do it, depending on how we go about it. But yeah, it really gets my mind turning when I'm out here. Just lots of different, you know, so much potential. And I hope I can, you know, seize the moment before I get too old. That's my plan. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know what you think. If you got any suggestions, comments, or anything like that you'd like to talk about. Any advice on the pond? What do you do when you have a leaking pond other than bentonite clay? Maybe do it again. I don't know. But I sure would like to get it to where it don't leak and it will hold all the water that's incoming, because we get a lot of water in the spring and it needs to hold through, or I'm going to lose my fish population at some point, and then that's going to suck. I told my wife if it gets bad enough, we'll just let it drain. I guess we'll drain it the rest of the way if it gets real low. And then I'll have to, you know, either hire a dozer or get in there with my tractor and try to find the leak and fix it, and then go back again. You know, maybe put a whole bunch of bentonite clay down on that spot while it's open. But yeah, really great place. Appreciate you guys tuning in, spending a little time with me. Until the next video, we'll see you next time.